My name is Tanel Gaines, and I am taking a listening class. I have my grandfather, my grandmother, and my boyfriend here, and we are just going to discuss a couple questions that I have written up myself and just get some feedback and some communication flowing. Let's see. First question is, what do you think about cell phones? Do you think that they are the best way of communication, and what are some pros and cons?
I personally think this is the best way of communication. Now, I'm speaking for the younger generation here, where it gives you ability to multitask. Especially, you can just kind of text and then do something else at the same time. So, I personally, I love cell phones. I think it is the best way.
As an older person, I think it is a good way to communicate without having to always rely on a landline. You could be out somewhere, and for emergency purposes, I think that is one of the best ways, to communicate or to get help
Okay.
when needed.
Okay. Okay, so maybe just asking, do you think that kids today, do you think their communication skills are better in person, or does most kids communicate by text, email, or better behind the computer?
Are you saying like what they do or what we think they should be doing?
What they do.
Oh, definitely behind the computer and text is more informal. Nobody really wants to talk personally. Like if you kind of think about it, if you go into a building somewhere, half the people are on their phones, looking down, texting, or doing something. So it's always informal in regards to emails, texting. Nobody really wants to kind of go in person and talk to people.
So do you think like if you're going through like an interview or things, do you think like kids' skills, are they up to par because more so they're using the computer more, or
For the interviewing, I don't think it's probably not up to par now in regards to building resumes and things while you're on the computer. I think it's up to par where you can kind of tweak your resume and things like that. But interviewing personally, like in person, I think it's probably not as back in the day where you have to literally get the hard copy, do your resume there, and fill out an application. Now it's usually just kind of online, and I don't think that they're really ready to interview in person.
okay, so you don't think that they're really prepared?
Mm-mm.
Hmm. I don't say.
And I don't have that, being an older person, I don't have that much exposure to the younger generation, that much. But however, though, I think that using the computers and all the new technology that we have out today will more or less help them as they can, continue to try and like the job, like to try and improve their get into the workforce, put it
Right.
that way, but other than that, like I said, I don't have that much exposure to them. But I do think that, the more that they use computer and, and keep abreast of all the new technology that's coming out, that it will help them, to for future purposes, as far as like, when they do try to get into the workforce, that they'll be more prepared, maybe, to meet the needs of certain companies that are high tech.
Right. So I was about to say, so Granddad, you also managed for several years, and you've done hired and fired, you know what I'm saying, associates before. So when you hire an associate, what do you look for?
I look for, first of all, look at the appearance.
Yeah.
I look for dependability, what type of education that they have, or they, they have. Basically, I look for the responses that I get from them from the questions that I ask. That really does mean a lot, based on the feedback I get from them when I ask questions. And it has to be the right questions.
So you feel like when you ask the question, and if they're not if they don't respond quickly, or if they're kind of babbling, or if they seem unsure or something, is that like a red flag to you, or?
No, I just want them to think it through, the question. Just don't throw anything out, right?
Right.
You know, think the question through. And basically, there's just some real important answers that I want from the questions. I mean, they don't even have, I don't even have to ask the question. Sometimes they can interject and say, you know, well, you know, what type of company is this? You know, do you guys, what are your long range plans for this company?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I want to be, you know, here for, you know, quite some time, for a period of time, and I'm looking for something that's going to allow me to be there for a long period of time. So what are your goals? Is that, and more or less try to almost interview me.
Right.
To a point.
Well, that's understandable. So or let's say just communication period. Does anybody do you look at somebody's background, or do you, not necessarily judge, but do you go off of somebody's background?
Yes, well, the application that's submitted in the very beginning is real crucial because I'm looking for stability.
Mm-hmm.
An individual is constantly moving from job to job to job. Well, that's a flag to me, red flag right there.
Right.
But depending on, you know, what type of positions that this individual has held,
Right.
you know, then that speaks for itself too. So the application is real critical in the beginning, and then the interview, like I said, you know, when you start getting responses, then you can see if what you see on the application and the responses you get, if it's going to match.
Right. Right. Well, let me ask you, like, do you also communicate, like, with your associates, like, by email or by phone or through a text or anything like that?
Every day.
Okay. So I'm about to say, so you use it a lot.
Yes.
Okay. So even if you're hiring somebody young, do you feel like the parents should have some type of control over, you know what I'm saying, a young person's phone, email, or the levels of privacy?
Can't really answer that because I've only hired individuals that was over 21, which didn't need a parent to more or less guide them or.
Okay.
So
well,
I can't answer that question.
Okay. Well, let me ask, just in general. Do you feel like a parent should be over a person's cell phone, watching their computer, or like overseeing like what they're doing?
I mean, I think so. If they're paying for the phone and the and the computer, I feel like they do, you know, need to kind of figure out what's all going on in regards to them. What are they looking at on the internet? What are they doing on the phone?
Is there an age limit?
Age limit probably 18.
Okay. All right. Okay, so do you still feel like a parent can support their children by still overseeing and regulating what they're doing?
Depends on the age. When I guess like regulate what they're doing. Like, are you saying when they're 18 and older, or like when they're young? Like, what's the age?
Let's say the age between 13 and 17.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to guide your children. You definitely need to look on what they're doing. So if they're doing something wrong, you can fix it at 13 and guide them to kind of the right thing to do or where they need to be. Because sometimes you can kind of see red flags on what they're looking at on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 13, you can try to structure that so they don't kind of end up on a path that you think that they're going down.
And I believe that if I were hiring some younger people,
Mm-hmm.
I feel that sure, you know, I rely somewhat on the parent to more or less help, you know, ensure that they're going to be stable and dependable, this and that.
Right.
But also too, I would put a lot on the child itself, because they have an obligation to show some kind of responsibility and dependability, because you can't, they're at the age now where they're being educated, and they're not teenager, tiny kids anymore.
Right, right.
They're responsible kids.
Right.
So I feel that, they have to show some sort of, responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't put all of it on the parents. Just can't.
There was like a quote that I saw, and it was funny. It was actually on Facebook, where it said, "An uncoachable kid will be an unemployable adult." So I feel like,
Yeah, that's good.
Your parents are coaching you in it, but if you're not taking that coaching, then it probably is going to lead to you being an unemployed adult, because you're not you're not coachable. You're not be able to be disciplined and things like that. So,
and also too, younger teenagers, I put for lack of a better term, they get distracted very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as the one individual said, coaching from the parents does help, and
Right.
would help, and it probably is really needed, for that age group.
Right. I would say because at ages, I don't know how old you guys were, but I was kind of a late bloomer. But, you know what I'm saying? Your mind gets curious at ages, and you want to try to figure out what to see, or you know what I'm saying. So you surf the internet and things or whatever, and you can find a lot of negatives, and you can also find a lot of pros that are on the internet, or ways of communicating and things and whatever. Like I said, there's all sorts of ways to communicate. We got, Facebook now, and Snapchat and Instagram and IMs.
But not being exposed to that, I really couldn't give a real true answer.
Yeah. No, I understand. Okay, so with that, do you think that children today have the upper hand on adults or parents when it comes to, I guess, their cell phones, their privacy? Because a lot of kids, they say, well, this is my cell phone. This is my room.
I disagree, because there's a lot of older people, friends I know, and this and that are very computer savvy, and really, when it comes to technology, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they're doing, and so I disagree with that.
to me, I feel like they do have the upper hand, just because you can check their phone or their computer, but they can get it somewhere else. There's always some internet somewhere else, some computer somewhere else, some phone somewhere else. So they're gonna find a way. Where I just feel, as an adult, you're just gonna have to talk to them and just be honest with them, because you can't hide nothing from them. They're gonna figure it out. Even if they can't get it off of their phone or their internet, they're gonna go somewhere and get it. So I feel like they do have the upper hand, just because society gives them so much tools, where parents, they can't really control that much. If the phone and the internet's the only thing they can control, that's not a lot. They can't control their environment when they step out the door.
So what do you feel that age group where you should at least maybe talk to them or expose them to, maybe like some of the, real personal conversations, if you're, if you either want to talk about, teen pregnancies, or, if you're thinking about, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or, what age do you think that that's appropriate?
Well, what age is like middle school? Was that 13 or something like that?
Yeah, about 12, 13.
I would say 12, 13, or when you just see signs of something. So I would say 12, 13 if you don't see signs. But if you see some signs early, you need to get out there and talk to them.
Yeah, you catch on it. Jump on it before.
And you got to understand that each individual is different. Yeah. Some kids, they can grasp understanding young, real young.
Right.
And some, it just takes a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
So
So do you maybe think like some of that stuff is like with the parenting, like from maybe a young age? Like me personally, my mom, we didn't have HBO. You know what I'm saying? She didn't have it in the house because, you know what I'm saying, after hours or certain things, you know what I'm saying, you try to structure some of that or whatever. I mean, do you think there's some other things that you can do to try to make sure, or
I don't think there is no things because if I didn't have it, then my friend had it, or their parents let them have HBO and we could watch something. So, like I said, it's when they step out of the house, you can't control anything.
Right.
So,
Because, and I totally agree with that, with what he just said, because, I mean, you can go into the TV and you can put in your lock on various channels here and there, but that doesn't stop him from going to buddy's house and
Yeah.
getting the TV's not locked and they can do whatever they want, you know, so I totally agree with what he was saying.
okay.
I mean, I just think kids are clever. They're gonna find a way. I mean, I was a kid. I found a way. You know, pretty sure Granddad probably found a way too. If he wanted to go do something or find out something, curiosity, you gonna find a way.
Yes.
So I think you just should just talk to your kids if you feel like there's a sign or something.
So you're feeling like being open and honest is like what, one of the best keys, or do you feel like open and honest with your kids, or open and honest with yourself, or just in general, or do you always feel like you keep it 100 with anybody who asks you a question, or do you monitor, you know what I'm saying, or put some type of control on being too honest, or?
Well, I mean, I haven't been a parent, but I mean, I feel like you want to keep it open and honest, but at the same time, you're a parent and not a friend. So you can't just approach your kid like a friend. Sometimes you do got to put some ground rules down and say, hey, this is not what's going to happen. So it is a fine line where you don't want to be too open and honest because you do have to play the role of a parent.
I about to say, because I believe like sometimes a kid, they can get that real confused real quick, you know, because the second that you are trying to be their friend, and you do have to put your foot down, then after that, you know, somebody's face is, you know, upset, or somebody's feeling some type of way because, okay, well, you let me do this or you let me do that, but now you're not letting me do that anymore, you know, so.
It's true.
I don't
That's
know.
that word friend, you know, you have to define that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine line,
What
thin
it
line.
is.
It's thin line.
So, can I ask you, Granddad, you being an older gentleman, do you see that there is a change in kids today than maybe when you were younger, or, you know, different activities, or, you know, different entertainment or something to...
I see them as being a lot different than what, you know, my generation, for the simple fact is that they're exposed to so much.
Yeah.
And based on, you know, the media, TV, this and that, I mean, there's really not too much, if they can understand it, that they're not exposed to, and they can give it relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think today that they're just a lot more knowledgeable about things
Mm-hmm.
in general.
Right.
To whereas we were, you know, when I was a kid, a lot of stuff was more or less like, you know, taboo, or you know, we just didn't have ways to get the information.
Right.
So, and the community as a whole would make sure, you know, that, you know, that we're not gonna let these, you know, these
Right.
people know.
I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, Granddad, I just feel like there's more outlets for kids nowadays, where maybe back in the day there was only one TV.
Yeah.
And you know, and you was only watching what mom and dad was probably watching or something, where you didn't have, there's not 7 TVs in the house and everybody got their own TV and they can, somebody can watch the History Channel, somebody can watch Discovery Channel, somebody
Right.
can do this, that, and this.
You better not change the TV.
Where it's just, they got more outlets compared to kids back in the day. So,
Mhm. And maybe just my last question would be, do you feel that us as a society, we have gotten better with communication all around?
Yes, because you've got television, you've got the internet, you've got cell phones, you've got just so many different things that you can reach out and it's right there.
Yeah.
So
I guess I would define communication in regards to, I think there's personal communication, and I think there's like, I don't know what to call it, like efficient communication, where maybe you can send an email to answer your question that you have for somebody, as opposed to maybe a personal communication where, let's say people go out to eat. Maybe there's a whole bunch of people just on cell phones and there's no real personal communication. I feel like personal communication wise, no, it's went down. But like efficient communication, yeah, it's went way up. You got emails and texts and so I guess it's a different types of communication for me. So I guess yes and no.
Okay, I can see that.
It's really strange too, because back in the day, when you didn't have a whole lot of information, well, I've always believed that when you keep people in the dark, they tend to rebel somewhere down the line,
Yeah.
But when you've got so much information out there, you can also rebel too.
Yeah.
Because you're telling me this, but this saying this.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
Right.
Yeah, you can get educated the wrong way or learn something that's not really true because you just seen it on the internet.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all you guys, and that concludes my interview. I appreciate all you guys. Thank you.